sound like dying. Oh, hilly bit, no, like, hilly bit.
Right guys, welcome to another video. So, you should have seen just then a little clip of me juggling on stilts. Oh yeah, I've evolved. I've reached the next level. I bought some decent clubs. These are better weighted than the ones that I did it in a video a while back. So it's a bit easier to juggle with these ones. And I'm just getting a bit better at it, and I thought I'd try it on stilts. My missus has a lot of circus equipment, stilts being one of those props that she's got. So I thought I'd have a go. Second nature. Easy peasy. Stay tuned, I'll put the bloopers on the end of this video. Yeah. Not as easy as I made it look. So, what have we been playing? Surprise, surprise, it's still all PSVR at the minute. One game in particular that I wanted to talk about today, and that is Preta Vendetta Rising. It's a hack and slash grindathon RPG that I've really been enjoying. It's a really good game, nice action, really good kind of quite deep upgrade system. There's 3 different types of currency that you can get from various different methods, and yeah, there's several different strands to the leveling up of your character. You also get a kind of assistant. You can buy these animals that help you, these creatures, weapons, spells, skills. There's quite a lot of customization to the character, so that's quite compelling to keep going back and grinding those levels to get those pieces of equipment, those materials that you need to upgrade. So it is very addictive, very fun. It's still just a little bit too much grinding for me. I think they should reduce it just a little bit more. This game did have a patch recently that reduced the grinding to 1/4 of what you originally had to do when it first came out, on PSVR at least. This game had been out before on PC where it had microtransactions. So obviously on PC they were kind of expecting you to pay to make the game less grindy. It doesn't have microtransactions on PS4, but it was stuck with that original level of grinding. But it's good to see that they've patched it to reduce that a bit, and I just think they need to reduce it just a little bit more, because there are times where you just think, oh, I've plateaued, and that next upgrade, that next weapon is just too far away to make it worthwhile. But that hasn't stopped me playing. Yeah, I am still playing it. So it's one of the most addictive games I've played for a long time. That might just be my personal taste though. I do kind of like RPGs, and I have been known to enjoy a few grindathon RPGs. In fact, my very first RPG love was a grindathon, and that was Sword of Vermilion. You did have to do quite a lot of grinding in Sword of Vermilion. But that was back when I was a kid and I had a hell of a lot more free time to myself. I'm starting to wonder whether or not I have the time for grinders. Because every time I'm playing this game, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not playing all of the games. So I am starting to wonder whether, really extensive grinding and these long RPGs, whether it really suits my lifestyle at the minute. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't played one of these for a long time. The last one I played was on the DS. So, yeah, but it's nice. It's the kind of game that I definitely wouldn't play on the TV. This is a trend that I've noticed, that VR kind of does make everything better. For me, personally, I'm not trying to come across like a VR salesman, although I know that that is a risk, because I'm just so enthusiastic about this technology and stuff in the games. But so I don't want to come across like a salesman, but for me personally, VR kind of makes everything better, and I'll try and explain what I mean by that. Like, yeah, there are several games that I've loved on PSVR that I'm pretty damn sure I wouldn't have given the time of day to had they just been on a TV. Preta Vendetta is probably one. The graphics are nice in VR, but compared to modern releases, this, you know, it's not great. I mean, it's like you're talking like early PlayStation 3 maybe graphics, you know, very early, maybe even we're talking late PlayStation 2 graphics, probably somewhere in between there, but not visually amazing. But in VR, it does look really impressive because you've got the 3D effect, you've got that sense of depth, which really adds to it. You know, it's really pleasing on the eye to have these kind of 3D looking characters moving around and being able to look around the world that you're in. That sense of presence as well, kind of being in a game world, is for me quite compelling. So again, that raises up an average game into something worth playing. Along Together, now this is a very good example. Along Together is a game that I am damn sure I would not play if it wasn't in VR. Again, very simplistic graphics, not that matters, just, you know, on a TV that probably would matter more. It's very simple puzzle platformer. It's fun in what it does, but it's very simplistic, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't give that the time of day again on the TV. But in VR, you know, the 3D, the sense of presence, the being able to look around, you know, it adds something. It adds something for me that is quite compelling still. It might be a novelty, it might wear off, but it's not wore off yet. Yeah. Anyway, so Preta Vendetta was one of the games that I got recently. I'd held off on getting it until that patch, because we heard about the patch to reduce the grinding, and I waited for that to come out, and then I got it, and I have really been enjoying it. It's fun. I would recommend it if you're a fan of RPGs, if you like that grinding, if you like that character progression and creation, that kind of thing. So Preta Vendetta is decent. This game that I'm going to show now, though, is a classic. Yeah, this is really good. Moss, in which you play as Quill, this little mouse. She is called Quill, and you yourself are actually in there as a character as well. And you don't really notice this all the time, but whenever there's like reflective surfaces, like for example if there's a lake, you can look down and see this kind of mask, and you are that mask. You are this kind of floating being, and if you move around the mask moves, that kind of thing. But your DualShock controller is part of the game. It's in there, obviously it's tracked, it's in there as like this glowing floating orb, and you use this orb to kind of manipulate objects. You can use it to hold enemies in place whilst you're fighting with Quill. So you're obviously using the thumbstick to move the character around, but you can actually hold on to enemies, for example, whilst you control Quill fighting. So it actually gets fairly involved, fairly complex. The battles, the fighting seems quite simple at first, but taking that into account, it's alright, it's good, it works well, the combat is good. It's a puzzle platformer as well, so again, I like Along Together. You have this physical thing in the world that you're moving around with your DualShock, and you're holding on to bits of the environment and moving them around and helping Quill move from A to B, basically. So it just works really well, it's really fun. Looks the part as well, it really looks nice. Good graphics, nice details, great animation, very smooth, good lighting. It just looks the part, and that matters on PSVR because a lot of the games do look pretty simple, simplistic, low budgets, small teams. You end up with quite simple looking games, even though they're fun to play. The graphics are simple, but this actually looks really nice, detailed, polished. Yeah, looks the part. The only problem with it is well documented, and I'm sure if you've heard about the game you'll know already, it's very short. I mean, you can get through this game in about 2.5, 3 hours, and that's not even, you could rush through it quicker if you wanted to. There's some replayability, there is secrets and things to find, so there's a bit of replayability, that's cool, but it is quite short. There's definitely going to be a part 2 that is directly alluded to at the end of this game, so they're already working on a sequel. Kind of feels like that's going to be one game split into 2. This really kind of feels like half a game in terms of length, but because on PSVR we're so used to having short games, it still felt like a treat to have it, and to have it on physical as well. This is developed by Polyarch, who've got a good run of games on PSVR. But again, this is put out by Perp, a third-party publisher that's doing God's work on PSVR and putting out a lot of popular games on disc. So I waited several months for this to finally come out at retail, and happy to have it as like that. So yeah, so that's really cool. What else did I get? Did I get other pickups? Oh yeah, Kona. Now Kona is a game that's been out for a while on PS4. It's recently got a VR patch. Now this might be unique amongst VR patches in that you have to pay for it. You pay for the upgrade of an existing game to make it VR compatible. I think that's the first time it's happened. Obviously, fairly recently we got Wipeout VR. We got a patch for that existing game to make it playable in VR, and that was a gift from the gods. But of course that was an internal studio, it was a Sony studio, so they had more investment on the PSVR in it, and so they probably had more motivation to give away a VR patch for free. But I don't think, Kona is obviously not developed by an in-house studio, so maybe that's why there's the difference there in how they've gone about it. But this brings up an interesting question. Would you pay, are you happy to pay for VR patches to make existing games VR compatible? And I don't have to think very hard about it. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, that doesn't bother me at all, because it is extra development needed to make that happen. And you're talking about existing games that came out without any intention of them running in VR. Maybe they might have even been released before the PSVR came out. So it is extra development needed, it's extra work needed, so I'm perfectly happy to pay for a patch to convert existing games into VR, because it's something that we'd like to see, and it's something that the community is kind of wondering why it hasn't happened more often. We saw Skyrim VR come out. Now that wasn't a patch, that was a whole new retooling of the game. It came out separately as a VR version of that game, but that and Wipeout have proven, and Resident Evil 7 have proven, that big modern games can be put into VR quite easily. Or at least they've made it seem easy. We know Capcom took a year to develop an engine with which to convert games into VR, and then using that engine it only took them 2 months to convert Resident Evil 7 to be able to play it in VR. So that's how they went about it. I'm not sure how they went about it in the other studios, but there's certainly some downgrading that needs to happen to run existing games in VR. Camera is slowly slipping down. But we've kind of wondered why hasn't this happened more often? Existing games, you'd think it's easy money. You've already got this game, you don't need to do any more programming on the actual game, you just need to convert it somehow by the magic of programming to be able to run it in VR. And like I said, we've seen it happen. I don't know how tight these companies are with each other. I don't know if these studios collaborate or help each other, but it doesn't seem like it's that difficult, basically. So Sony should certainly be providing some software to do that, to help companies do that. And there's a whole raft of games that you think might be ripe for VR patches, and if not brand new standalone VR versions, at least a patch like with Kona. Now Kona seems pretty interesting. It's like a murder mystery, I believe. I haven't played a lot of it yet. I've literally played like the first 5 minutes just when I bought it. And it seems like it has a lot of potential. I did watch a review that was positive. But yeah, free movement, just going around. You have the move controllers, so that's nice to have hand presence in that game. Obviously that didn't have that originally, so they've not half-arsed it. This is a decent VR patch for Kona, adding move support, so you can actually use your hands in the game instead of a DualShock. So yeah, it's doable. And this game Kona seems right up my alley. A murder mystery, just exploring and finding out stuff, and a narrative-driven game is. It'd be nice to have some more of that in VR. There's not been a hell of a lot of kind of really good narrative-driven games. so I'm up for it. But there's one kind of problem with Kona VR, and that is it's got really bad anti-aliasing. I'm sure everyone's aware of what that is. Basically, everything looks kind of blocky. It's got this weird kind of interference in the graphics, and I'm hoping they can patch it, because we've seen from some of these other releases like Skyrim, like Resident Evil 7, like Moss, that it is possible to make really nice looking, crisp, clear visuals in the PSVR, regardless of the fact that you are obviously dealing with a relatively lower resolution, you know, as you view it, with it being so close up to your face. It is still going to be a less clear image than the TV, of course, but it's possible to make nice looking games that don't have crazy amounts of anti-aliasing. So let's hope they can patch it a little bit further and just improve that VR mode for Kona, because that looks really cool. But I'm definitely happy to pay for a VR premium to have existing games converted to run in the headset. Definitely. I don't have to think about that twice. Because it's so compelling to me. Again, it's just my own personal view. I know it's not for everyone. But it's obvious I've been completely smitten by the technology in the games, because that's all I talk about these days. I am aware of that. You know, I did build this channel on retro, so the vast majority of my audience, people that watch this channel, were really into retro stuff. PSVR is niche, and yeah, a lot of people have stopped watching. That's fine, but you've got to talk about what you're interested in, don't you? You know, so you know, I'm not playing a lot of retro at the minute. I'm playing old PSVR. That's what I'm enthusiastic about, and it's really, really kicked up my enthusiasm for gaming in general. I mean, yeah, it just feels so fresh, you know. I did hear the other day that apparently the attachment rate for PSVR games is really high. Now, what that means is attachment rate is like, say you get a console, and then it's the ratio between, you know, it's the ratio of how many games people typically buy for a console. And apparently the attachment rate for PSVR is quite high, which means people who own the VR headset are buying more games per month or whatever than typically people who just have the console. And I can understand why this is. It's because it feels so compelling to see what a new VR world is going to be like, to be in there. You know, that kind of feeling of presence, of being in a game world where you kind of feel like you've gone somewhere else, like you've actually been somewhere else. That exploration, that feeling of discovery is really compelling. So yeah, I can see why VR owners, and I'm certainly one of them, have certainly bought a lot of games for VR, and more frequently than I typically have done on consoles, especially new releases. I was never somebody bothered with new releases, but now I'm looking forward to games before they come out, and that just wasn't the way I did things. But now I'm, you know, up to speed and waiting on new things coming and buying a lot of new and more recently released games, that kind of thing. And it is, yeah, I feel compelled to discover these worlds and feel what it's like to be in there, you know, because each game and experience on VR is pretty damn unique. There's a lot of wave shooters, they all feel pretty similar, but yeah, you know, there's lots of factors to PSVR, there's a lot of factors to VR games, and if they're done right, they feel fantastic. Yeah, so I can understand why the attachment rate is quite high, because you feel compelled to go into these worlds. You know, in a sense, you know, I don't want to talk, if people haven't tried it, I don't want to talk it up too much. You think, oh yeah, it didn't really feel like you're going there. Well, of course, it doesn't really feel like you've been somewhere else. You know, it can put you in that headspace of imagining that that's what's happening. You know, you do have to meet it halfway. It's something I've said before. To get the best out of VR, you do have to suspend your disbelief. You do have to allow yourself to be taken by the experiences and be enchanted. You know, allow yourself to be enchanted by these experiences. Because if you're just nitpicking and looking for faults, then that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get out of it, you know. But yeah, but that's it. I guess that's enough for this video, guys. Not many pickups, but really enjoying what I've got. Yeah, Preta Vendetta is brilliant, and Moss is up there with the best of them on VR. And I did also play a little bit more of Bravo Team, Now, just for a nice visual aid, his Bravo team, didn't get good reviews when it first came out. For several months leading up to its release, people were expecting it to be a full-on first-person shooter, like free roaming. People thought it was going to be like a kind of, a proper, like a Rainbow Six style game, but it wasn't that. It's more like, it plays more like Time Crisis. You teleport, or you travel from one set location to another. Although there's quite a lot of locations. I mean, you are spoilt for choice. There's lots of different places that you can go to. It's all behind cover. It's a cover shooter. But it actually works pretty well. I'm actually really enjoying it, actually. I mean, they get a hell of a lot of shit. There's problems with it. There's definitely problems with it. There's something wrong with the perspective for a start. Everything looks just too big. The gun that you're holding, the people in front of you, everything just looks a little bit too big. So there's something going wrong with the perspective there, which is curious. Because most games tend to get that right, the sense of size of everything, when it's a realistic game. Most of them do tend to get it right, but everything just feels a little bit too big. And I said this before in a previous video, it removes you from your first person view. Every time you move, so you're shooting, you're behind your cover, you're shooting, you're having some fun, and then you move to your next location, it takes you out of the character and you watch yourself in third person move to the new location, and that's unnecessary. To me, that's the only real problem with this game. I don't think it needs that. I think it breaks the immersion a bit, although having said that, it does have a benefit. And that is, when you're watching your player move from one location to the next, you've got quite a good vantage point on your area, so you can have a look around. You can also reload whilst you're travelling from one bit to another. But yeah, you can actually have a look around. So there is some tactical use to that. And it doesn't break the game. I have actually enjoyed it. I don't think this deserves the harsh criticism that it got. I just think people were expecting something different, If people had known from the start that this was going to be more like Time Crisis, then I don't think the disappointment would have been there, because the graphics are great. I mean, it looks the part. It's, again, by a bigger studio. Who is this studio? Supermassive Games. But yeah, it really looks the part. It's got really nice textures, nice lighting, so it looks nice and realistic. The shooting action works fantastic, especially with the aim controller. The dedicated gun-shaped controller, and the shooting action is really fun and effective, and of course that's the only important thing, really. I still haven't tried it multiplayer as well, so I do need to try this multiplayer if I can, but not shit. It's official, you heard it here first, maybe. But that's it, guys. So enjoy the bloopers of me trying to juggle on stilts, and I'll see you guys in the next vid. Right, bye bye.
Damn it! Let's try one more. Let's do that.
What?
I'm not doing that. Don't like walking these away from something I can grab.
Do a flip!
Right, a flip! No!
I'm Bambi! Oh my god!
I can't do it for that now! guess it's not a good look.
No, it's not. You need a wider base. Not like a Tory politician.
Yeah.
All right then. Gee, can't think of a juggler's name. There are.
Name a famous juggler.
I'm not a juggler, so I can't name you one.
I'm not a guitarist, but I can name.
Anyway, come on.
Evolution of juggling skills take millions.
I've been recording for ages.
Oh. Ah! Oh, I'm not going to. Give me it. Evolution of juggling skills take 49. Hopefully I won't die this time. Right. Oh, it's so hard. I have to focus on 4 limbs at once. Right, let's try a special. Take it! No!
Oh my god.
Last time, I promise, last time. I mean this time.
Because I've run out of memory on my phone.
Okay. Okay, evolution of juggling scale take 36. Fuck it! Wait. This is not even. Okay, I can do it.
You know what you look like? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
What do I look like?
You remember the film, The Dark Crystal?
Yeah.
You know those big white things? With big long ears you ride?
Ah!
Okay.
Right, ready? Okay. Ah!
Oh god! Oh dear! Oh, okay, ready?
Okay, now.
Yeah.
Get sweet, young. Oh, hilly bit. So like hilly bit.